It is 7.
7. Yes. We do pay attention, and I think episode 7 is going to be an interesting one because we have practically nothing to talk about.
Nothing prepared, nothing to talk about, and not much has happened since last time.
Yeah, I feel like we can't be recycling old materials. We don't have enough episodes to do like a rerun, right?
Yeah. I mean, we never really had anything prepared, but it's just this week there was a lot of things going on, like personally, work-wise, etc., that like I didn't have even time to do my normal media, digestion of media stories and so on that we could talk about. So like, earlier I was like, shall we just skip 1 week? I really don't know what to talk about. But you said like, no, come on, we need to keep it consistent and just get it in. And maybe this time we just managed to keep it to like, so it's like, it's 3:22 now on the Sunday. So we need to be finished before 4. Otherwise,
absolutely. Otherwise, we would have failed again, right?
Absolutely.
But let's definitely talk about, because I'm sure folks that are listening, and this is around finding your north after all, right? I think today, because maybe we're never prepared, but usually we have something on our minds to really talk about, and I think today, I was hoping you didn't WhatsApp me, and I think deep down you were like, look, if he doesn't WhatsApp me, then we'll kind of like brush it under the carpet, and then we'll deal with the consequences tomorrow and say, look, what happened, But I think it's like I said, like consistency over quality, right? No matter how bad this podcast or this particular episode is going to be, what is really important that we committed that we'll produce something every Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And you know what? Maybe a couple of the episodes will be like this silent retreat podcasts where, we just don't say nothing. It's actually a thing, by the way, silent retreats.
So what, we're going to record a podcast not saying anything so people can listen to nothingness for like an hour or so.
You know what? That's not a bad thing. I like where you're going with this. But I think, just thinking about the consistency over quality, and how do you get, sometimes you're in the trenches, your brain is so good at giving you 1,001 excuses of not doing something that, ultimately is good for you. And I think we just quickly debated how, if you've got a partner in crime, and they know each other well, and the individuals know when one should step up to bring the other one up, or vice versa. I think that really helps because, you and I just said, you know what, let's just do it. When should we do it? Like right now, like let's really get these emotional feelings out of the way. And I'm sure we'll stumble upon really good topics. I'm just wondering whether, if you don't have somebody, a partner in crime, like you and I have doing this together on this podcast thing, how do you do it if you're a bit alone, is it harder? You need to be mentally really, really strong.
I think we discussed the topic of like how important relationships are, and like true success in life, it's not necessarily just like the monetary value of your income and so on, but mostly I think a lot of people now realize that the total sum of the relationships that they have is really important, especially under those circumstances. And I think having a partner, and this doesn't necessarily need to be a romantic partner, right? It can be anything. That can be your friend, your colleague, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your mom, your dad, your mentor, your neighbor that you just have a chat with every day. But like I think a lot of people now one thing that we will come out of this is that people will more double down on the relationship that really matter for them. I truly believe in that, and they're gonna reinvest or invest more time into building those and nurturing those relationships, because they would just know, like, okay, this might go away, but it might come back. The only thing that is for sure is like I need to have the right relationships in place, right? And it's I think that is really something also for myself that you know, I see with other people who might be alone, you know, they definitely struggle with this whole thing. I think a little bit more than other people who have their family around and their friends around and so on. So yeah, it's also been a topic of this week, you know, to decide, you know, about, you know, the depending how long this is going to go, like, you know, where do you actually, should you be here in order to be close to where your office is? Should you be closer to where your family is? All that sort of stuff, right? So I think those questions will start coming up with quite a few people.
I think so. I think you're right in terms of the value of relationships. Totally. I think we always kind of knew this, but you know, it's theoretical. I think when you go through it for a period of time, you really sense the value. Funny thing you should say around neighbors, right? So I've got my neighbors. You know, I'll give them a shout out. You know, Becky and Rupal. I must say that. I've got to know, we talk more. So we've been neighbors for like 20 years or so, right? But I would say everyone's so busy in and out. During this lockdown period, we've probably spent the most in deep conversation than the entire 19-20 years that we've lived next to each other. And of course, it's not like we weren't talking or they were not good neighbors, you know, lovely neighbors. But you know, so we'd all come out in the garden doing something, and then the conversations just take you. And you know what I say, when you create a WhatsApp group from your neighbors, you know, the relationship has gone to a whole different level.
Yeah,
so now we have a WhatsApp group and we're talking. So I think you're right. And I think, you know, when speaking to my neighbors, they really like the slowdown of life. You know, they feel they're more present. And I think, you know, when you mentioned around working from home, as you can see, I've got my gaming chair now. You know, I'm hoping the quality of this podcast will go through the roof, and my PowerPoint and Excel sheets skills will go up. Benefit, right? But you know, I've really like doubled down in making this environment that I work from really comfortable, right? Yeah. So the chair, the desk, I rewired everything, got my screens and whiteboards and everything like this, right? So I'm kind of like enjoying it, you know, like you know, on episode 1, when we started this, we were like, look, when do we go back? We're people that feed off each other. So I think it's once you make peace with it, as I say, and you make that environment comfortable, you know, where humans are creatures of survival, right? So you know, you make that place really good for yourself. So yeah, so I think like I wouldn't say, look, I would love for the lockdown to ease and just go out and meet up with friends, family, more so colleagues. But I'm also feeling a bit content. Now, who knows? Let's see what next week or the week after will bring. You know, that I don't know if you've heard from Twitter, you know, they've announced that their employees can work from home forever.
I haven't heard that. I've read this morning that Salesforce has now told all their employees they can work from home at least up until the end of this year, no questions asked.
So Salesforce, Google, I think Facebook have done that, but Twitter has gone all the way. They're like, from this moment onwards, any employee can work from home forever if they wish so. And I think that's a bold move. I think it's definitely one that they probably want to put a big bet on. Just imagine the amount of physical real estate savings they'll make. Like, of course, you still need some building space and things like this, but you don't need all of it. You can do with half of it, maybe.
See, that's the thing. Like, I think for the short and medium term, I'd agree, but like, I still believe that, you know, if things go back to normal, and people can sort of comfortably, you know, London might be a little bit of a different one because, London, it's always a bit of a hassle to go to the office, right? Regardless where
Yeah,
you live, like, because most people do not live in central London. You always need to take the public transport to get there. It takes quite a lot of time. It's very crowded. But I don't know, like Twitter in Silicon Valley, I would imagine that a lot of people there get into their cars to drive there, you know. I think for those people, they would still like to go to the office and have this nice office space and this culture around. So I've maybe there's a differentiation between like what kind of offices are going to be closed or more likely to be hit by people wanting to work from home. I don't think it's going to be a general thing. I think it really depends. It really depends on the location. I just don't think that all Twitter employees from one day to the other would decide like, no, you know, we're all going to work from home now. But a percentage, but then also depending on I think the circumstance of the city where they are. And I think, you know, London, for example, maybe more people would decide, well, I'd rather work from home because I can avoid the overcrowded
I
northern
think
life.
given you're right. I think given the choice, because the choice is there, I don't think Twitter or whoever is forcing anybody, because, you know, I think we have to appreciate that there are people, a good portion of people that do struggle to work from home, you know, whether it's like childcare or anything like this, or space even, or the facilities, or simple things like we take for granted, right? Again, your broadband connection, the speed of it and all. And, you know, people always like the fact that when they go to work and come back, and the commute, although it could be a struggle, it's a little bit of a winding down and you're switching mode, right? I think you're right. It may not go to that extreme where everyone's working from home, but I think there is going to be a new norm where you're going to possibly work from home the majority of your time, and then go into those collaborative, you know, the environments, the bean bags, you know, the coffee machines, everything like that, for like an intense week or two to get something started, and then everyone goes into more of a distributed manner. Travel for sure will reduce, right? You know, the thing around, oh, you can't do this meeting remotely, you know, I think that's going to be a big question mark, to travel for a workshop or a meeting. But yeah.
No, I think it's, you know, I think we are probably at the beginning of a new area when it comes to like working, right? But at the same time, I don't think that like it's going to be just office space are just going to go away. I think people who would have liked to work from home in the past are now definitely going to work from home, and probably more companies will now allow it to them. I don't think necessarily because of this that like the majority of people, even if they've in the past never really considered even working from home, and that they suddenly now, you know, it's just, it comes back to the topic. It's just accelerating things that would have happened anyway, but I don't think it's going to necessarily like change everyone's behavior. So, you know, I started working from home, whereas in the past I didn't do it at all. So I started like within the last 12 months, and now I really enjoy it. And, you know, I would rather probably increase the time working from home rather than reducing it. I'm saying like, you know, I'm probably not going to be one of the first people who asked to come back to the office. It's also like our head of IT, apparently, I haven't heard it, was just like he was quoted. He said like, initially you can envision that actually coming to the office is going to be like working from home from the office, because the way the office is going to be set up, you know, there's going to be like
more social distance, social
distancing,
right?
in the office. No outside guests, no meeting rooms are going to be allowed. Most meetings going to be virtual. No common spaces can be used, and then it's like, for me, it's like, okay, what's really the point? What's the point?
We're gonna go back to the cubicle days, right? And
exactly,
because I'm a more of a touchy-feely guy, right? So I'm all in the office. I'm like high-fiving, tapping shoulders, you know. So I'm gonna struggle, you know. Like... I need to handcuff myself. So that's what I think. And there will be a middle ground to all of this, right? But you know, the way I think you and I, when we've worked in the past or where we've interacted, that close-knit collaboration, you know, that and social distancing. So sometimes, I don't know. I think if they're going to put these rules in place in the office around removing communal areas, spreading out desk space, you know, and things like that, it may just defeat the objective of what we think, you know, going back. But hey, I think it's we'll see how it pans out,
How it
right?
pans
But
out, yeah.
definitely, I was never personally a fan of working from home. I just couldn't work from home because of kids and whatnot. But I've actually really made it work now. Right? So maybe because psychologically I've kind of like invested. I'm like, everybody should work from home, right? I need to get my gaming chair ROI back, you know.
Very good.
But yeah,
so
yeah.
I actually have I have something that has been on my mind a bit, because I was, you know, trying to recap like our episodes and so on, how the, you know, past couple of weeks have been turning out. And I remembered this craft that we were referring to at the beginning of I don't know if it was episode 1 or 2, you know, the fear zone, growth zone, learning zone,
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
on, right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
because what I realized for myself, it's like I've been actually, so when this whole thing started, I was like the, you know, the class not half full, the class still full sort of guy, you know. I was very positive, I was very like energetic also about like making the best out of this and using the
Yeah.
time and learning and growing from it and so on. And I feel like um I don't know, maybe it's a bit of a theory that maybe there's two type of people, because like I feel like I started here, you know, but then over time I've been rather going down, whereas I think a lot of people were hit very, you know,
At the bottom,
heavily, and they start at the
and
bottom, they have suddenly going up. And now I sort of felt like I've been, you know, because you know, you sort of like, you keep telling you know, you run out of your own koolaid that you drink, you know. and and
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I don't know, like for me, it's, I feel I've been a lot in this growth and learning, and now I'm more getting towards the fear zone. Not fear because of corona and getting sick, but more fear of like, damn it, how long is that gonna pan out, you know, how
Yeah,
long are
yeah,
we
yeah,
not
yeah.
gonna be able to make any plans and so on. Where maybe other people were very, you know, hit at the beginning and very depressed and so on, but then now they sort of like, you know, they said, okay, this is now what it's going to be, and they're sort of moving up. So it's I don't know, what do you think about that? Where are you, how
Yeah.
have you
I'm
like
thinking.
developed over the last couple of
I,
weeks?
I I think, you know me. I can come up with. I can create new Kool-Aid for myself, right? So you give me something, and I'll create Kool-Aid out of it, right? So and that's a good and a bad thing, by the way, because then you kind of running in your own bubble,
Mm,
and then you crash, right?
mm.
I think you started really high and then just averaged down, averaged down. I don't think you went really that. I think you averaged
Oh,
down.
I had definitely days where I was like, but you
Yeah,
know, bottom.
at the bottom. But
Yeah,
overall, you've averaged. You're not as enthusiastic, right,
yeah,
as maybe the first few episodes. I think others have maybe averaged up a bit, you
yeah.
know. But I think there are. I think we shouldn't underestimate the people that were possibly struggling with this. May have gone down further, right?
Mm,
Because you know, there's this whole thing around like taking time off. You know, I mean, you take Fridays off at the
yeah,
moment, which
yeah.
is and that's a whole great thing, like a 3-day weekend and things like this. So I think people are also struggling to take time off and still be in the same house but can't go out. You know,
Mm,
so I think it's yeah, no, I think I've created new Kool-Aid, right?
you,
Maybe because I have I've got the chair, I've got the desk, I've rewired everything, right?
yeah, yeah.
And probably my time spent on that is probably not going to give dividends, but I'm you know, I'm not going to lie, I do like my gadgets and whatnot, so I'm going to try and use that. Um, but yeah, no, I think we all have our dips. Don't get me
Mm.
wrong. We're not always hyper like this. Um, I don't know.
Yes,
Maybe the weather was good today. You know, I'm
yeah,
just thinking tomorrow
maybe.
might. I don't
So the
know.
one thing you mentioned earlier that we could exchange some thoughts around this, and I think you know, it's very closely connected to this. Like, what have you found sort of successful doing in order to, you know, keep going and keep yourself distracted and busy and entertained, and, you know, in this whole thing. And so, you know, things that you've maybe not done before, like 8 weeks ago.
So I think I'm just thinking about today. I went out. So sometimes I feel very energized and refreshed after doing like labor intensive work. Okay, so hear me out on this. What do I mean by this? I think the work that we're in consumes a lot of brain power, right? So you just like fatigued, and your mind, and, you know, you're thinking about strategies and whatnot, etc. And if you do that for prolonged periods of time, it actually is very draining. It's very draining. So what I do, and again, you know, we're all learning, by the way, so I'm not preaching here that I've perfected this art, but I tend to just engage myself in like physical labor type of things, right? So for example, I would start a random DIY project, right? But, you know, my time is not worth it if you think about it commercially, but it gives me escapism, right? So today I spent 3-4 hours just in our shed. We've hoarded so much crap over the years, and I was just like ruthless. I was just like ripping things around, putting it in the bin, rearranging things. And two things. One is you're using a very different part of your body, so physical. Second, I think such activities requires you to be in the moment. So you don't force, you try and avoid using your brain power or mental CPU as much as possible. And then you kind of feel a bit recharged. So now I've actually done that just before this podcast. I feel a bit positive about the day. I feel recharged. Although physically I'm tired and my hands are hurting, I feel a bit recharged, you know? So doing that in a consistent manner, I think is not a bad thing. And I guess this is why a lot of people have side projects. You know, I think many people have got their old classic car, you know, that they want to build, you know. So I think to divert the mind away from your normal routine. But what about you? I know you go for walks and things like this.
Yeah, like I've been, I don't know, like I was very good with like my workout routine in the first couple of weeks, but I've been very, very tired the last 2 weeks. So I've not been really able to keep up my normal, like going, you know, running and working out. But like I've been going through extensive walks, like even to a point now where I go twice a day, and, you know, like an hour here and another half an hour there. And I don't know what it is. It's just like maybe it's because you want to walk away from all of this, you know, and that helps you. It's definitely the change of perspective, because if you spend so much time inside or even on the terrace, it's just like you always see the same. And if you can then walk and, you know, at least move and see something else, that definitely helps. Also, like I've always been a person who I can think much straighter if I walk. So at one point when I sit down too long and I'm in my head a lot, you know, you get stuck. But if I then walk and think, that helps. So that's one thing. Then, yeah, I mean, the physical labor thing, I can definitely relate to that. Unfortunately, not everyone, including myself, you don't have necessarily the space or the tools or the stuff to do it, you know, to really get your hands dirty, to build like, I don't know, a bench for outside. I'd love to do that at the moment. So if I'd be back home, that's probably what I would do all day long, right? Or just make a fire.
I don't have all the power tools myself. Yeah, the reason my hands ache is because I don't have half the right tools, you know, and it's a health and safety issue and whatnot. I'm pretty sure if you're creative enough, you're gonna you're gonna find a few things to do around the
No,
house.
so started planting some, some vegetables and so on in pots. And the one thing that definitely keeps happening is like decluttering. And I do that anyway, Corona or not. But yeah, I've just been packing another big box with stuff that I'm gonna send back home because I don't need it anymore, and it helps to like. I've always felt like even with cleaning and decluttering, it always like um it takes weight off you, like at least that's what it
Yes.
is for me, because
Yeah.
I'm not like big into possessions anyway, and I don't have a lot of things to start with, but every time I get rid of things and we give things away to charity and so on, it feels good, and you just feel a little bit lighter afterwards. And I think especially now, in this situation, it definitely helps. It's also like, if you, I mean, you look at things, and I also like, have I touched it in the last 12 months or 6 months? No. Okay, out. And now it's like, have I touched this in the last 8 weeks?
Wow. Okay, that's pretty good.
No, because I mean, and I've been home every day, right? If
Yeah.
like it goes, and at the end of the day,
When this lockdown is over, you're gonna be like, "Where's all my outdoor
where's all my
gear?"
stuff? No,
So
I think that's good. Yeah.
do you find though, Flo, that when you go for a walk,
Mm.
are you going for a walk to continue thinking, or do you go for a walk to just observe? Because when you go and observe, yeah,
It's a combination of, it depends on the day. Most of the time, not most of the time, there's quite a few occasions where I go out in order to actually trying to structure my thoughts and make
okay,
plans, right?
okay.
Because I think that's, I can also, specifically when it comes to planning, I can do it much better while moving forwards. I don't know, it's maybe sometimes,
You
your
know,
brain works in a
they,
weird way.
absolutely. I found myself, and I think maybe some of the colleagues that are listening to this may observe this as well. Is it's like, let's just take a workshop environment.
Mm,
When you're thinking about something, you pace up and down.
yeah,
You can't sit in that chair to, come up with ideas. You pace yourself. So
yeah.
there is something around physical movement and what the brain is trying to, pull together.
Mm.
So yeah, some neurons firing off and giving you knee-jerk reactions.
100%. And I think for the first 2 weeks we were very good with staying inside, and I felt good. But then at one point, when you really haven't moved, and I usually walk to the office, so I have like 40 minutes, 45 minutes in the morning and in the evening where I'm like physically active. I can plan my day, or I can recap the day when I come back. And not having that, I think I've really felt that after like 2-3 weeks. And as you said, like when you use your brain all day long, right? Because we use our
Yeah,
hands
yeah.
and fingers for like typing, and then the brain, that's literally the work that we do. And then you sit in the same place and you just like don't move, but you keep thinking. At one point you just get stuck. That's what it is for me. And I think other people then go for a bike ride, or they go for a run, or but for me, like, I've always loved walking. And it's also like this sort of, I like to explore, I'd like to travel and so on. And it's sort of my mini traveling in London almost. Like
Yeah, it's
I always
liberating, right?
I also try to always take maybe another street,
Yeah.
slightly, so you see, even if it's the same neighborhood and you've seen the house before, but maybe see it from a slightly different angle, and like it's that I need this. Yeah, I just need to stimulate my brain with those things. Otherwise,
Mm.
I'll go.
I think one thing I found, it's interesting you say that. One thing I found in the mornings, because I don't know, in the UK, London, the weather has been really good so far, right? There's always sun out most of the days. So before I start work, I go out in the garden and just get some sun rays in me. Just sit in the sun,
Mm, mm,
and it just like warms you up, yeah. And as I'm sitting there, I would observe a different part of my garden, right? And I would just really be present, just
mm,
find something new that you've never seen.
mm,
It's amazing how there's different like wildlife, the bees or the ants or
Yeah.
whatever, and you're just like following them around. So I think there is, when you look close enough, you're going to find new levels of detail that you hadn't observed before.
No, I definitely agree. That I do definitely not agree with your statement about the UK and London weather. I don't know, maybe our expectations are a little bit different. I think it's been absolutely horrendous the last 10 days, but it's been
Maybe I haven't been out. No, no,
oh, no,
no.
it's been
No,
it's
it's been
been
okay.
it's been cold, and it's been just been like sort of like sunny the last 2 days. I was honestly depressed last week. I had to wear 2 pairs of socks, and it's mid-May. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
I
but
remember one night. Yeah, I
uh,
remember a couple of days. Maybe, see, the thing is, you in this lockdown, you lose sense of time, right?
yeah.
And because it's been sunny today and a little
And
bit
yesterday was okay as
yesterday,
well.
right?
Yeah.
So you think like, hey, we've been like, this has been a whole season
Ah,
of
no, no. Like
sun.
last week, I was really struggling with like my energy levels, and I can always really connect it with like how the weather goes and the amount of sun. Because as you said, like sometimes I also like in the morning, when sort of the sun comes here at like 8:30ish, it comes up the house behind up behind the house that is on the other side here, and I just sit with my coffee in the sun for a while. It really helps to
Yeah.
kick off the day and like take in those sun rays. It's good, but it's not as strong as I'd like it to be. That's
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
That's for sure.
Good stuff, good stuff. So I'm just like thinking that maybe today, if we force ourselves to stick to our time,
Yeah.
we're coming up to half an hour. I've had a few other things to discuss, but I feel we're going to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Unless you've got something you wanted to throw out there.
No, I think we said we always gonna be open and honest, and we were thinking about having a guest on this week. We decided no, let's have one break. It's not been the greatest of all weeks. Loads in my own head, so therefore I didn't have time to like come up also with like a cool topic or something like that, or read much about like the stock market or what other the topics we have done before. And I think that's fair, and we're just going to be open and honest about it. We're not just going to try to cover it up. We're just going to
It's definitely. It's we shouldn't forget that this is more of a documentation for us to
yeah.
share just our random thoughts. Um, I've been getting like couple of feedbacks from a couple of folks, and I'll name check them. Make sure that they get a shout out. But they've become like possibly, and I may be overthinking this on some of the data points they gave me. They've become like a little bit regular listeners,
Yeah.
and they're telling me how they listen to this on their walks,
Yeah.
with their kids or when they're in the gym. So I just want to call out Abhishek and Pavan, where I think you guys are regular listeners amongst our other hundreds and thousands of listeners as well. But I think it goes a long way where the topics that we've been discussing then comes up in other conversations, and it's all about linking and connecting the dots. So it kind of, I know we didn't do it for that reason to get external recognition or anything like that, but I think us talking about our thoughts and spreading ideas in a weird way, I call this like we're planting seeds, and maybe there will be a forest that grows that we won't be around to see the forest, right? But the spreading of ideas is something that builds momentum, and there's never a shortage of it. So idea generation is something that continuously gives. You don't lose out by sharing. You actually gain more. So anyway, I thought that was
no,
a
definitely.
good random thing to.
No, definitely. And I think what I realized, what I've been able to not do which is it's a good thing, because I've started quite a few things in my life, and you're always like quick to look at data points and to say like, okay, is it worth doing it, is it worth my time? And what I've not been able to do, or what I have not been doing, is I've not really looked at the numbers of this, how many downloads, how many subscribers, how many people watch how long, because at the end of the day, for me, it's like it's not really what's driving this, and I don't really care, and at the end of the day, I'll continue doing this probably for a good couple of weeks or even month, and maybe even years, and if in a year's time we are where we are right now, but as long as we enjoy the process of doing it, that's the only thing that matters, really. Like, and then if we have Pawan, for example, who likes to listen to us every week, I mean, I'm happy to hear that. And I know there's a couple of my friends, and also like my family likes to listen to it, just to also, besides the comms, that the calls that we have every other day, you get to listen to someone. Yeah, it's good. We definitely,
I guess I think on the family front, I don't know if it's the same for you. I think they definitely get to see a different side of me through these podcasts.
Yeah.
Because you know what it is sometimes. Explaining to your parents what you do. My mom still thinks I tap on a keyboard all day long. And I have a desk job.
Yeah.
So, but all good. No. It's no. Well, like I said, I think we appreciate whoever's listening. If there's any value out of it, it's even better. And so why don't you read us out, Flo? Until next time.
Until next time. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone. Slightly different episode this week. I'm pretty sure we're going to be back with a guest next week or the week after. When you're on YouTube, please give the video a like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you listen on Spotify, please download the podcast, share it with your friends, colleagues, family. If you have any questions, if you want to be on the show, any feedback or anything else, email us at findingnorthpodcast@gmail.com. That's findingnorthpodcast@gmail.com. Have a great week all. Stay safe, and we'll see you or hear you. I speak to you next week. Cheers.
Peace.